Hi ladies! What you want to do to begin your sewing process is, if desired, section off a portion around the client's head that you can leave out for coverage if the client is wanting to kind of shift the hair backwards or pull it up in a ponytail once the final sewing is completed. So in total, I've created 7 sections, 3 in the very front, 1 on each side, and 2 in the back, and basically just section those off with the rubber bands just to kind of tuck those out of the way. Next is the braiding process. So what you want to do is, on each side, it is very important to create what we like to call anchor braids. So this is basically the braid that's going to hold everything else in place. So at this point, you just want to continue braiding the remainder of the client's hair, and basically the goal is just to get it where it is as flat as possible. Just keep in mind, your braiding pattern isn't going to be the exact same for every single client. You may actually need to alter it just depending on the shape of the client's head, because again, the goal is to keep the pattern as flat as possible. Next, I apply a weaving net to my client's hair to, 1, eliminate the additional frizz that could occur under the sew-in, and also to put less tension on my client's hair. And now, the fun part, actually sewing. It is preferred to actually sew coming from underneath the braid rather than over top, because it puts less tension on the client's hair and matches more so the natural hair growth pattern. Alright, so I'm actually going to be starting a new row now. I do always like to keep a duck clip handy to actually just clip the track in place in the direction that I'm going to be sewing in. Now at this point, I know you're thinking, she just told me to go underneath the braid. But at this instance, what I do like to do when starting off a track sometimes, I do go over top of the braid just to actually get that as secure as possible, especially if it is a braid that is thicker like our anchor braids. So notice here, I'm triple threading my needle and pulling it through again to get that as secure as possible, and then we're just going to continue threading from left to right. Okay, so typically I'm not really a fan of cutting my wefts, so at all costs I do avoid cutting them if possible. So what I prefer to do is generally the fold over method to, of course prevent as much shedding as possible, and then just to kind of keep that flow going with the client's hair. And you will see later where I do begin cutting the wefts when it does become necessary. Alright ladies, so at this point we're almost done with the sewing. What you want to do is just continue sewing the client's hair from left to right, but this point it is vital that you do make sure that the tracks stay as close as possible to one another to prevent any unwanted gaps. So like I said, just continue sewing from left to right in kind of that U shape. Alright girls, finishing up the sew-in. So this is the very last track that's going to be added, and for this one, because again it is a tighter spot, I am going to be coming over the braid and then under, only because again this is a tight spot which will be really hard to get going underneath the braid and upwards. And voila, we are finally done sewing. Alright, so at this point you guys are able to see that there are no visible braids remaining. That last track that I did add, I did actually get it right at the start of the braid, because once the client folds her natural hair over, you definitely don't want to see hair, then braid, and then the track. With this method, it is going to leave for a clean fold over for the client once she actually goes to style her natural hair over the wefts. So at this point, what we're going to do is cut off that excess net that is around the client's hair, and basically just make sure you cut that as close as possible to the tracks. And what we're going to do now is just go ahead and remove those rubber bands that are on the client's hair, and basically just go ahead and comb that out completely over the wefted hair, like so. As you can see here, we're getting a happy client already, and we're not even done yet. Hang tight guys, we'll be done in a sec. So we just got done doing her hair with the full sew-in weave. The only part we left out was the very frontal weft. So hold your head down for me a little bit. And as you can see, there are no tracks visible in her head. Yes, girl, yes. And we have the full sew-in. Basically what we did, you guys followed me through the whole sew-out process. So this is what we have, the final product. And she used Milky Way. That was her preference, to use Milky Way. Mm-hmm. It was actually the 14 inches, which I think works well with her height on her. And then she got a number 2. So can you do a quick spin around for me? Let me see. You can whip it, girl. Whip it. And as you can see, it looks completely natural all the way down to the tip. All right, and go ahead and turn it back around for me. So how you like it?
I love my hair. Nakia does a wonderful job all the time. She's the best. Her talents are extraordinary, and pretty much I love going to Nakia because you come out looking like this. And you love your hair when you're done. It's all natural, it's all real, lightweight, feels wonderful. And Nakia works the talents very, very well, and she does a miraculous job.
So yeah, we have the full sew-in. If y'all have any questions, let me know. I tried to record the whole process, give you guys what you needed to know. If you have, like I said, any follow-ups, let me know. See you guys later. Bye.